Hey everybody, welcome back to some more of this playthrough of Haven and Hearth, or Hafen, or Haven and Hearth 2. Again, whatever it is we want to call it this week. As you can see, the village is coming along decently here. We still don't have a village claim up yet, but things are progressing. And this episode is going to be dedicated mostly to talking about new stuff in the game, now that we've discovered a lot more, what with having progressed farther down, I guess you would called kind of a tech tree, skill tree, as we've kind of upgraded in technology. You know, we have a farm going, we have silk production, very basic silk production going, stuff like that. First thing, a lot of people had a lot of questions, as well as a lot of good advice in the comment section of the first video. I actually forgot to mention something in the previous video, which is that the game actually does have little spurts of music now that sound really nice. They just don't happen in the Ender client for some reason. However, if you use Ender client, and I'm sorry, I don't really know much about other clients, you can now hold down Control and hit G, and you can get a grid that actually will slope with inclines and declines, which is incredibly useful. Being able to see that slope. So that's really, really nice. Also, I actually have something inside that I want to study. I didn't realize that I had finished that. Let's study that. All right. So, new stuff. Lots of new stuff. Where to start? So, we have a herbalist table over here, which was in the previous game. And it seems to work. It seems like all the previous things work. Like I have a tree planter's pot rather, there with a mulberry in it. And it seems like, and this has just been added, this was not in the previous version, to try and make up for no longer having an industry and nature slider, you can now learn gardening, which, no, not gardening, is it plant lore? Yes, plant lore increases your chance of successfully planting trees without it dying in the pot. Right now, it feels like it's 50-50. I don't know for sure, but I've tried to do about, 5 trees, and I've gotten 2 of them to live. So, for 5 attempts, that seems to point towards 50-50, but you never know for sure. Plant lore and gardening both also increase the amount of seeds you get when farming. Or no, mystery of both plant and more seeds while farming. Yeah, they both give you more seeds while farming as well. Again, for kind of a pseudo nature slider thing. I do have a little bit of barley here that I want to pick. However, I'm going to wait until this is done so that I can get more seeds. This is a study I've been doing, wondrous wood shaving, which I just got at random when making a board. So it seems to be very rare to make, but at this point in the game it's very good. I've been studying it for maybe 3 days now, and I think it's going to finish sometime tonight. So let's talk about some farming. There are a lot of different things you can farm now. First of all, you'll notice I have these little things here. These are for anything that needs to grow on a stalk. You actually build them now. What's important when making them is I like to make farms in 3x3 grids of 9. So like, that 3x3 there is all hemp. This 3x3 is all onions, that one's carrots, that one is beetroot, stuff like that. You can't do that with these, because although if I were to have a row right there, you'd be able to walk between it if you're very careful, you wouldn't actually be able to pick anything and harvest anything, which it actually looks like I can harvest here, which I believe this is some pea pods. So you need to actually have a 1-row space between if you want to actually harvest anything. And we'll replant 1 pea pod. We have some hops cones there. Right, so new stuff. As far as I can tell, wheat is no longer in the game. I believe I have every single crop. We have used a lot of wild windsown weeds that we've dried. We've probably dried almost 100. At this point, we've dried so many. So I believe we do have every crop. Instead of wheat, we have barley. Barley seems to do the exact same thing as wheat, where you get seeds from it, and it drops hay as well, or straw, rather. The straw is used for things like beehives, which I'm building up here. I just haven't had much straw yet. Straw is also used in chicken coop. I believe you can use it as feed in a chicken coop as well. I could be wrong. And you can ground up the barley seeds into flour. So barley seems to be just a rename of wheat, essentially. Hemp seems to work the same way as before, as far as we can tell. However, we have not found a way yet to get hemp buds from it. In the previous version, you just would pick it when it's not 100% fully grown, and you would get buds instead, which you can then grind up and smoke. Haven't had any luck with that. What I don't have planted right here, right now, because I'm waiting to figure out where I want to put it, but I have grown before, is pipeweed, which seems to be just tobacco. What the effects of smoking it are, I don't know. I don't think anyone's figured it out yet, because there is no like little effect that pops up in any corner, so far as I can tell, that tells you what it does. And travel awareness does not seem to be a mechanic in the game anymore, so we don't know what tobacco does yet. When you grind it up, it just calls it pipe stuff. I think that's actually what it calls it, is like ground pipe stuff. I've smoked it, I have no idea what it does. The rest of the crops, I believe, will work the same. I think pumpkins might work a little bit differently. When you pick a pumpkin, you pick it up, it's huge in your inventory, it takes 9 squares, and when you slice it, it gives you 8 pieces of pumpkin flesh to eat, or to cook with, and it gives you the pile of seeds in the middle, which is, I think, 2 or 3 pumpkins worth. The way seeds work, let's go into our box here. We just have onions here. Do I have one with seeds? This has seeds. These are pipe root. Yeah, these are all pipeweed. Pipeweed is what it's called, okay. The top number is, of course, the quality. The bottom number is how many seeds are there. And to plant 1 square worth of crops, you need 5 seeds. So, you know, each one of these groups of 5s might as well be 1 crop. So these are all varying qualities in different categories. We're just, again, it's same logic of how you make crops get better over time and over generations as in the previous game. You just pick all your plants and then you replant the best of the seeds you got, or the best of the crops you got in the case of things like beetroot and carrots and onions, where you just replant the whole thing. I believe that's all about the same as before. So let's go into our inventory in the house here. And I believe it was right... yeah, I'm not going to plant these cocoons or put those cocoons on the table until nighttime, because then when I wake up, they'll be there, not starving to death. We have silk filaments, and we also have 1 silk thread. I believe it works the same way as in the previous game, but as a reminder for anyone, and who knows, maybe I forgot how it was in the last game, the whole silk process is you get 2 silk moths, which seem to be more abundant now. One has to be male, one has to be female. You put them in a cupboard together. And I believe you might need mulberry leaf in there as well, which you just pick from mulberry trees. And once they're in there for long enough, they will, if there's a female, for every male and female pair, they will make a huge amount of silkworm eggs. These are kind of lowish quality. I believe it's because they ate, maybe it's because they ate I don't know. Might be from the quality of the, might be from the qualities of the silk moths, actually. Again, I'm still learning this stuff, too. I played the previous game a lot. I was never a pro or anything, but I did play it for probably a few hundred hours. People are still really figuring stuff out in this. Gives you a bunch of silkworm eggs. You then put those on a herbalist table for, I believe, 8 hours, it feels like. They hatch into worms. The worms eat every... I don't remember what time frame it is. Actually, it might have changed. They eat in a certain time frame that I believe is above an hour. And if they miss more than 1 meal, they'll die. So you want to make sure that you're on top of getting them right after they hatch and put them in a cupboard full of mulberry leaves. Once they've eaten enough leaves, they'll turn into a bunch of cocoons. And if you leave cocoons for long enough, they'll turn into silk moths again. And that repeats the cycle. What you want to do is you want to hatch all the eggs, and once they're all in cocoons, you want to take all the ones that you don't need, leave maybe 5 or 6 behind, and unless you're really unlucky, at least one of them will hatch to be the opposite gender of the rest, so that you can continue the cycle to catching more moths. And once you get all your cocoons together, you boil some water in your cauldron, and for every cocoon, you can turn it into 1 silk filament. Every 10 silk filaments you get, you can use a spinning wheel here with wheel making. And you turn your 10 filaments into 1 silk spindle. I know it's a spindle, but I think they call it something else. Let's double check. They call it a silk thread. And for every 10 silk threads, you get a silk cloth. And a silk cloth you can then make into something super fancy. You might need a few cloths. I don't know. Haven't made a cloth yet, so I haven't seen the updated recipes yet. So basically what I'm saying is the silk moth thing takes a long time because it's 10 filaments for one thread, 10 threads for one cloth, and then you might need multiple cloths depending on what it is you're making. So silk production is a very hands-on, labor-intensive thing that requires, like, it's going to be someone's job in your village, basically, is just tending to the silk. It doesn't take much time every day to do it. However, you need to really stay on top of it. The only time you really get a break in the process is when you get your bundle of silkworm eggs. Those last forever. You can have them sitting in a cupboard until you're ready to start the production again. So that's the only break you get in the cycle. All right. So, more new things. Let's just put away this pea pod while I can. Got a stockpile there, and I don't think I've shown off how stockpiles work, so I'm going to show you because it's a really good new mechanic to the game. So, these are some clay, just some pieces of unused clay, ball clay from a nearby shore. When you have anything on your cursor like this, you can right-click the ground, and it will turn into a picture of a stockpile. You then left-click it, and you have made a stockpile. You can now get anything you want to drop on it on your cursor, hold down Shift and right-click if you want to dump all of it on, and you now have a stockpile of that item. This is to save on storage space. Really useful, especially for building material like this. And as long as it's on one of your claims, it never decays. So this clay is safe. It's on my claim. As long as someone doesn't come by with the steal skill or the vandalism skill to destroy it or to steal it, this clay is going to be fine. It's not going to go bad over time or anything. And it's not wasting space in one of my cupboards. So that's a really, really nice new thing. In fact, we can see over here on another person in the village, on their wonderful house. And by the way, there is no lock on gates right now. I don't have the lock and bolt skill yet, so I likely still need to make one. But there is no longer automatically one. You can see that he has a stockpile of what looks like rocks. He's got branches, he's got planks, and he's got logs right there. All stockpiled. He's also got junk stockpiled there, clay. He's got a lot of stockpiles here, and it's pretty effective. So that's good. Eating all the mushrooms just started to move in down here, and I believe it was Doomed still hasn't made it here yet. Who was it who moved into the north? I believe it was Lordius who just moved into the village. Right in the north. So the village is now a population of 4. Although I'm still mostly the most active one right now. Everyone's kind of busy with their own stuff right now. See Lordius's place up there. He's already started on a stockpile and everything. They still need to get Eomandry so that they can get claims of their own. And I see myself on the minimap, some dandelions, and some weeds to pick. So, something you can't see because my minimap is covered for safety purposes. This is something that's pointed out very usefully in the comment section of the last video that I didn't know about. I was talking about how it's very hard to click on things like silk moths when they're flying. Well, it turns out when you see the icon for any kind of animal or thing you can pick on the minimap, you can right-click it on the minimap and hit gather there, and your character will lock onto it. This is much easier to click than actually clicking something like a ladybug or a silk moth. So it's very useful. You can also click on the minimap just if you want to go somewhere, and it will bring you directly in that direction, which is good because the real map here does not match up with the minimap in terms of, like, up is not up. Northwest, or north, is this top corner, which should be northeast, which means it north, south, west, east. And the minimap is not rotated in this way. So if I'm walking up to this corner, on the minimap, I'm just going directly up. That's something that a lot of new players have a hard time wrapping their head around because it just feels weird. Don't know whose house this is. He's been here for a while, though. Never seen him on, though. I always like to say hi to the neighbors. We've got a lot of friendly neighbors around where we live, actually. A lot of people live in our area. Anyway, let's teleport back. Gathered a little bit of stuff. So, I want to show you what this stuff is that I just gathered. And so we got wild windsown weeds. Put those on drying racks. They dry and they turn into seeds. Gonna do that with both of them, actually. Oh, that was weird. Server does crash about 3 times a day, but it only takes them about a minute to bring back up, so there's always the chance it might crash during this. Sometimes it does get a little bit slow, like there. So those are drying. Those will turn into random seeds. You can also put them on an herbalist table to dry them in half the time. Normally, I believe it's 16 hours to dry on a rack, but it's only 8 hours to dry on one of these herbalist tables. However, the herbalist table's quality will affect the quality of the weed, whereas a drying rack does not, which means that you'll always have a chance of getting higher quality out of a drying rack than you will an herbalist table. So, dandelions are very weak study items. They only require 1 attention to study, and they take, I believe, an hour to fully study, but they don't give them any learning points. So it's just kind of, you need to fill out that last slot. It's kind of useful if you're super early on, just because it's an extra thing to study. But in general, dandelions are not terribly important. I mostly get them because one of the foods I can make is rabbit food, which requires a dandelion, a clover, and a stinging nettle. So I've been collecting clovers. Clovers, however, I believe they still function in the same way previously, as you can give them to something like a sheep or a cow, and you can shear the sheep or milk the cow when you do that without them being tamed by you. I have not tested this yet, so don't take my word for it on that quite yet. However, I'm going to make some rabbit food here. So when I craft something, by the way, I don't need it in my inventory anymore. If it's in storage I'm touching, it'll also count, which is very, very useful for crafting things. So we got rabbit food there, I'll put on my table to eat. Gives you charisma, perception, and intellect. This is a fairly nice food. This is, it's pretty good for a food you can make so early on. Spring stew is another thing we know how to make. Oops, meant to get rid of the other thing. Spring stew is another thing we can make. My cooking skills 1, I haven't made it yet. However, we cannot check what it gives you. I'm going to go ahead and guess a lot of perception, though, because it's 2 perception high foods of carrots and pea pods. So, because I have not yet ground up any barley seeds, I can't tell you what many of the baking recipes are at the moment, because I kind of want to build up my skill here. I want to wait until this is done. That'll give me like 6,000, I think. Yeah, it's worth 8,000 learning points right there. I want to get that done so I can pick up both gardening, which is 4,000, and plant lore, which is also 4,000. I want to pick them both up at the same time, so I'll get a lot more seeds. I'll probably get double the seeds from the barley, and that'll let me start planting a proper barley field faster. Just like in the original, the crop that's probably the highest priority that you need the most of would be barley/wheat, depending on what we're calling it in this game. Again, it's the same thing, just called something different either game. It's the most important thing to have an abundance of, because straw's useful, and you can make some curiosities and stuff out of it. Beehives and coops are useful too, but you don't need so many of those. The main reason that you really want the barley is that the leftover barley seeds you can grind up for flour, and you use that in any kind of baking. Anytime you bake, you're going to need some kind of base for it. You use the flour for that. So and because food is one of the most important things in this game, it's how you get attribute points. Having properly cooked meals is very, very important. And keep in mind, when making your meals, that you're going to need a high-quality oven, because the quality of the oven will degrade your food if the quality of brick is too low. This oven is made of pretty low-quality brick. I made it very early on, and the brick I burned in a low-quality kiln. Now, I've made a new kiln. This is my new kiln. This one's roughly quality 12, I want to say, overall. The previous one was maybe quality 8 or lower. So this one has less of a restriction on the quality of brick that it can cook. I don't have many high-quality clay places around here. It seems like 13.3 is about the best I can do right now. However, once I up my survival more, I think I'll have a little bit better luck with that. I believe it's getting capped at... is it vitality? Yes. The clay nearby is getting capped at vitality, which is the green number. So I can likely get that higher once I get some more survival. Also worth pointing out, you can double layer your clothing. I forgot this is actually a thing you can do in the previous game too. So you can put on 2 nettle pants and 2 nettle shirts, and that will stack the bonuses. You can see that right here. -4 to agility, 1 for each piece of clothing, but +4 to unarmed, and +8 to survival. So that's pretty awesome. Did I mean to close that? Yes, No? Yes? I already forgot if I was going to say something there. Another thing I saw in the comment section, I have a bow and arrow, by the way. I've been practicing a little bit on this. Why did it switch me to running? I don't know what I did that switched me to running. We have an archery target practice thing here. It's just for practicing archery, which has gotten recently nerfed a little bit. Apparently, you could rapidly click and fire all of your arrows and just hope one hits, and it would do full damage. Now your actual aiming bar is also tied to damage to keep you from doing that. Someone was saying in the comment section that apparently you can kill a fox in that he was killing foxes in one arrow with a stone arrow quality, I think he said 10, and a quality 8 bow at 15 marksmanship skill, I believe he said. This is completely wrong. As you can see by my really low maximum health there, I've tested this a few times. I tested it when I had a bow of 15 quality, or was it 19? Something like that. A marksmanship of 20, and I was using a higher quality bone arrow, so I literally had everything better than him, and that fox kicked my ass. I definitely did not one-shot that fox, nor did he feel like fleeing after that one shot, so I couldn't have even hurt him that much compared to his max health. So I call bullshit if someone's telling you to do that they're one-shotting foxes that early. Call bullshit on that. Don't fall for that. I don't even know why someone would lie about that, but whatever. So, other new things. I believe there's an ore crucible or smelter. Okay, we don't have metal yet. I guess he just has that one preemptively. And this is another thing. Don't remember if I brought up in the last episode, but apparently, according to people online, they believe that Hearthfires tend to generate in clusters when you first create your character. And from what I've seen going around the world, it seems to be true. This right here, this is a huge cluster of them. It's not like there's a bunch of friends got together and made these all together. It seems like the game spawned them here. And a few more of these have cropped up around here since we've started. And so far, no fans of the show have stumbled across us. So, in fact, all the people who have ever stumbled across us didn't even know I was me until they added me. And they're like, oh, you're that YouTube guy. Which I won't lie is a little bit flattering. So, I don't know why we have a flag up there. I'm going to go get rid of that. I don't know why we have that. That's a landscaping flag if you don't know what it is. I don't think I've explained what landscaping is, so let me show you. So, when I built this wall around my house, I needed to level out the ground a lot, but the ground was on a big slope. As you can see, it's like all awkward there. Like, it's pretty leveled out now, the walls, but it had to be leveled out to be able to work. To do this, you're going to need a lot of soil. And by a lot of soil, I mean grand total to level out the ground enough to make this wall probably took 700 pieces of soil. So you can see this huge pit right here. I don't have my shovel on me. It's in a cupboard, but you can do this bare hand if you want. What I did is, and we'll make another one over here just as an example, Adventure Landscaping, Survey Land. So what you do is you drag a box over all the land that you want to make a uniform height. So I did a 5x5. And you can drag the scale of how high you want it or how low you want it. Blue means you're going to need soil because you're building it up above ground. And then purple means you're digging it below ground. If it's green, that means it is perfectly level with the ground currently. So I'm going to remove that and go down to here. If I hit make level right now, at this current level, we can see that there's nothing above ground because there's no blue. There's a bit of purple. It says here that I'll have 11 units of soil left over. So if I hit make level, then I'll use my hands and start digging up soil to make it level. And then when I want to get more soil, I just go lower and lower and lower. And you keep making that pit. If you have a shovel equipped in your hands, it's much faster and requires much less stamina. So I recommend using a shovel when you're doing that. As you can imagine, shovel is superior to hands at digging. But that's just kind of another basic thing to know. I've been going through my building stuff, and there is some new stuff you can make. For instance, before you used to need to make a rune stone by carving up a boulder into a stone just to write something. I guess they decided that that was silly, which I agree, it was silly, because now you can just do a wooden sign for that. We have a log right here, so let's make a wooden sign. I believe it's 4 planks and 4 blocks. So you can only hold 3 planks right now because you can't rotate things still, as far as I'm aware. And we have a water skin there, keeping us from holding another one. So we're going to do this. And we're going to have to get another plank and another block shortly. So I want a wooden sign right outside my house here. Actually, you know what? Let's we'll put it right here so it's less in the way. Now, because stone is a lot more valuable, because in certain areas it's very hard to get stone. Like we've had stone shortages a lot. In fact, our last raw boulder is right there. It's probably got 30 stone left in it. And my neighbor there has a stockpile of stone as well. So it's nice to have a wooden alternative because wood is so much easier to get. You know, trees all over the game. You can plant trees, you can't plant rocks. If you plant a rock, it doesn't grow a rock. So let's go ahead and just finish that sign. Carve your markings. Mah-Dry-Bread's house. And I just hit enter there, and I'm writing it. That's an awkward animation. With a weird sound effect that sounded like I was carving up a corpse. Mah-Dry-Bread's house. Nice. Okay. And it looks like you can only write on it once, much like a runestone, because you're carving it in, which is fine. So now I've got my house labeled, which is nice. People will know when they walk by who lives here. Which probably means I'll get griefed more, but whatever. It's unavoidable. If they know who I am, they've probably watched the videos, and they probably know what the place looks like. It's gonna happen sooner or later. I believe that is all the new stuff that I want to tell you in this episode. I know this one's a little bit shorter than usual. However, on the next episode, I would like to probably get a few people together, and maybe we'll go on a hunting trip or something like that. It's just there's not a lot that's exciting and new to show off at the moment, mostly because my character is not really capable of any kind of combat. So what I'm going to do here is tease you a little bit and show you 2 cool things that I might be able to show off in better detail next episode. First is a wooden road sign. Some of these are around my area because there's a nearby village to us that is a very friendly village. Happy to have them as neighbors. You can put up road signs if you have like a village of someplace, and when you right-click on a road sign, you can have them lead back to your village. So I could put these road signs out in the wilderness, and when people right-click it, it'll say like, follow northwest to enter village name here. And if they click it, and they click go northwest to village, it'll lock them onto the next sign I made going towards that village. And you can actually make paths like that so that it funnels traffic to your village, which of course makes it easy to find by raiders. But if you've got good defenses, this is great because you can lead people in to trade with, you know, as merchants. Or if you're a raider, you could use this to make people come in and think you're a merchant, and then you kill them. So it all depends on your play style, I guess. And the next thing, and I wish I knew about this ahead of time, timber house. Look at that, that's a big house. That is a big house. I want one. No room in here. Probably gonna have to make one outside. We're gonna make an outer wall for the proper full village one day once we get a village claim up. So that everyone's protected, not just my house. I just got the my house wall up because I could do it quickly in an afternoon, and I'm the most likely one to get griefed. This looks like it requires a lot of straw, though, because I unlocked this when I first picked up straw. And so I'm going to go ahead and guess 200 straw for the roof, and I do not have 200 straw. But I don't believe there is any wood, or sorry, there's plenty of wood, I'm sure. I don't believe that there is any metal involved in this house, as I have not picked up any metal yet. So that is one that we can make early on. My next big goal is to make a chicken coop. Get a beehive running to speed up the growth of this stuff, get some honey going, get some wax going. To grind up some barley, get us some flour so we can get some proper cooking going, really start beefing up the people with some good food. And the next really big thing to aim for is hunting capabilities. We want to start getting good enough at combat that we can start fighting some rudimentary enemies. Get some animal combat going on, and show you something really interesting for the next episode. So I'm going to be power playing a lot. I did end up spending the $15 on getting a verified account, which means that I get a 14-hour game time refill every week, so I can play even more. I've already run out of the first 48 hours, And then I'm on the 24-hour bonus for verifying right now. So I've been playing this game a lot to try and bring you guys interesting things. I'm sorry I can't record this nearly as often as I'd like to, or else I'd probably be streaming it a lot. But again, life situation, aren't able to record and stream much. It's extraordinarily lucky this week that I've been able to record and stream things 3 days in a row. And hey, at the time I'm recording this, tomorrow's my birthday. Maybe I'll release... You know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to release this video on September 22nd. It'll be my birthday. This will be a birthday video. Happy birthday, everybody. Until next time, have a nice day.